but they said, hey, Frankie, 2 questions for you today. What are some of the best no-risk guarantees? What are some of the best follow-up emails? Nitin says, what are the different ways agencies are getting clients from? I've seen a huge drop in organic traffic, even for sites like Investopedia, although much of their work is done by GPT. But what are your thoughts on the effectiveness of SEO to attract traffic? Or should we optimize content for AOI? Please suggest what's working for your respective agencies. I think building authority is more important, whether it's through case studies or white papers. George says, those of you who have created nurture sequence for your clients, what are you sending out? Happy Monday, everybody. Are we in? Did we hack the matrix? Is this happening? Is it happening? It looks like it's happening. It looks like we are in the machine. We have hacked the matrix. All right, Morpheus and Neo, we're going to do this. Welcome back to another Agency Owners Q&A, the weekly Q&A where you guys are asking the cool questions. We're talking about the cool stuff and the things you guys are building, challenges you guys are having along the way, all that good stuff. And quick little announcement just before we get rocking and rolling. For those of you guys who may have missed it, our agency Fast Starters program for those guys who are just trying to hit 10, 20K a month consistently has launched. It is very focused on selling your stuff, not necessarily back-end fulfillment, although we'll help you craft your offer and things like that. For those of you guys who are interested, I have links. I actually have summarized everything. I have a work with me document. All the details are in there. So, if you guys are interested in that, check that out. I'm not going to harp on it too long. Let's get into the good stuff. But before I give my little intro, I actually have a new AI-generated intro. Some shitty dance music, so let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, gather round. Your questions matter. Let's break it down. Golden guns flex, closes the game. Weekly Q&A. Let's bring the flame.
There you go. The kind of music that's entirely AI generated, by the way. Music that you would only enjoy if you're doing a bunch of drugs. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. Try and act like you're not impressed. Can't be done. By the way, shout out to Lana for this awesome shirt, by the way. I don't know if you guys can see it. Beyond the Agency box, it's got all my little things that I'm known for on it as nutritional facts. Closing in video, more beach, less laptop. All that kind of good stuff. Anyways, let's start off with the questions. First up, we got George. This was kind of asked privately, but I thought this was an interesting question. For those of you guys who are getting there or aspiring to be there, he says, for those of you who bring home over 30K a month, how is your life different because of it? So I'll tell you, I think there's kind of like 3 distinct stages you go through financially in the growth of this business. So the first is what I call survival. And in survival, you're literally just trying to make enough to cover ends meet, make bills. You're not thinking very far in the future. You're like, I need some cashola. And I need it now. And usually, by the way, that phase, the survival phase, is done purely with hustle. It's very scarcity driven, typically. Not always, but most of the time. And that's survival. Eventually, you reach a second stage past it, called saving. And saving is when you actually start putting stuff away every month. And it creates a new challenge called, what do we do with this extra? Do we invest it? Should we scale? Should we put it into growth? Should we put it into ads? Should we invest our money? Should we buy real estate? Should we buy stocks, etc.? Saving creates new problems, better problems, but new problems nonetheless. And eventually you reach a stage past that. And interestingly enough, when you reach the upper echelons of saving, where you're saving money, it's going away like every month. There's usually an emptiness before you reach the third stage, because what happens is all of a sudden now you have enough to do what you want to do. Like for me, I remember like small detail, but I could go to a restaurant. I used to read a restaurant like the Torah. I would read it like right to left. So I'd look at the price of the food and then decide if I was going to order it, and then eventually you reach a point where you don't need to do that anymore. You can just get whatever the fuck you want for whatever reason you want. Whatever price it is irrelevant because it doesn't change your life one iota. And when you reach kind of that stage, Often entrepreneurship feels very fucking empty, just so you know. Like it feels very miserable and empty. Where you get there and nobody high fives you on the street. Nobody like gives you a fist bump. There's no congratulation. There's no party thrown in your honor, and you often sometimes spend 7-10 years on the journey trying to make money, and then finally you did it, and you're no different on the inside. You feel just as empty. So you reach a third stage, what I call thriving, and the difference between saving and thriving is the only difference is now you develop a purpose which is beyond just like existing to make money. I see our dude. I just refreshed the comments. Sam Carlson's up here talking about my jams, and Richard's here. Says it was better than the halftime show last night. That's not too hard to do though, my dude. I was happy to see the Chiefs lose. I'm a hater, but it wasn't much of a game. So I probably would have preferred to have a game than that. But it happens. Anyways, enough Super Bowl talk. So 3 distinct stages. Survival. So one of the first things is you're talking like $30K a month. You'll get out of survival and you'll get into savings. And you'll have a new problem called, what do we do with the surplus? Taxes. How do I invest it? Put it away? Do I scale? Do I do this? Etc. Like now all of a sudden you have access to using money to solve problems, and it creates new problems. Third stage, like I said, if not many people get there, just so you guys know, in our space, is called thriving. And thriving is much more purpose-driven, where the money and the scoreboard has long since lost its meaning. I actually had a conversation with JC Height about this. We were sitting on a boat together. We were, on the ocean, and I was like, JC, like, what's your goal with all of this? And he was like honest with me, and he said, honestly, I don't have one anymore. I'm just trying to help as many people as I can. And I'm in the same boat. Like, I don't really have a goal. I don't have a scoreboard that I'm paying attention to. I'm just trying to help as many people as I can. I'm sure, actually, Sam Carlson, I don't know if he's still listening or had to jet, but I guarantee you Sam is in that boat where now it's just like he just wants to make a difference in the fucking world. And so those are kind of the 3 stages you go through, like that kind of have distinct phases where you're in survival mode and you're just trying to pay fucking bills, and it's hustle, grind, make shit happen. Then eventually you're saving, and when you're saving, you can start to say no to shit because like you no longer you're not like entirely 100% money motivated. But then when you start to reach the upper echelons of saving, it's very empty. It's very like what was the point of all this? And then there's the thriving stage where you're connected to purpose and you have some sort of existence beyond just like trying to sell agency services for cash. Not that there's anything wrong with that, by the way. The comments for like some reason on Facebook, I can see that there are more comments. I just can't read them. So whatever. So you guys are just going to have to be listening to the one-sided rant. But that's kind of my experience with it. You guys may have a different experience. I'm just sharing, my perspective. But you go from survival to saving to thriving, and they each have their own challenges, by the way, just so you know. And usually, by the way, in the thriving stage, you have challenges of overwhelm and team and implementation. And for me personally, like I have more ideas than I can possibly fucking execute on them. Like literally, ideas come to me faster than I can like do them. So there's that challenge. I can see there's new comments, but it like doesn't show me what they are, so whatever. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not ignoring you. Anyways, I hope that's helpful. So this one was from YouTube. I forgot to write down the username, but they said, hey, Frankie, 2 questions for you today. What are some of the best no-risk guarantees? What are some of the best follow-up emails? So I kind of view, like, just so you know, high-ticket sales in general. This includes, by the way, not just agency services, but coaching, consulting, retreats, events, masterminds, shit like that. Any sort of expertise is going to be a high-ticket sale. I view it as like either like a golf course or an American football field. It's a process that so if you imagine a football field, since it's Super Bowl, let's use the football analogy. The ball goes up the field 100 yards. So a lot of what you're going to do in terms of follow-up and in terms of guarantees depends a lot on where somebody is relative to you on the football field. So for example, if that person has never heard of me, knows nothing about us, and knows nothing about our service, and they're 99 yards away, then what works as a follow-up is often related to just getting them to raise their hand at all. And so I was talking to someone else about this. Often I design questions and comments so that it requires 3 words or less to respond. And why am I doing that? I know I'm not going to sell a lot of shit in 3 words, but I know I can't sell anything if there's no back and forth conversation, right? So I'm just making it easy for them to respond. For those of you guys who are on my email list, for example, the very first email just says, tell us what you do. SEO, pay-per-click, web design. And often somebody will go, web design, and then reply. And then I go, cool, like, who are you designing websites for? Now we're in a conversation and we can go somewhere. But until they respond, I have nothing, right? Like, so a lot of like what works in follow-up is really just simple design to get them to raise their hand to say, I'm interested in this. And this is, something I'm going deeper on as I write version 3.0 of the book. But I believe in the 3 offers: coffee date, first date, marriage. Coffee date is like usually a free thing. Let me give you some valuable thing that'll move the needle in 10 or 15 minutes. First date is let's work together in a small kind of trial sort of paid assignment. And marriage is your let's do this forever, monthly, whatever kind of package. Most people are clear on their marriage, not on the first 2 offers. And you want to design it in such a way the coffee date goes into first date, that goes into marriage. So in terms of your question, when somebody's 99 yards away, I'm just coffee dating. I'm just going, hey, I got this free thing. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. So my favorite example of this is, Chris, who's got a Go High Level service. So the marriage is, you're going to get my Go High Level SaaS month after month. The first date is, let me run a Go High Level review campaign for you that'll take a week and we'll get you a couple of reviews. And his coffee date is, let me give you a little script you can text one of your clients that you had this week and get a single Google review. Right? So then they run the script, they get a review, then it goes, hey, what else can we do? We can run a campaign for you. The campaign works. Hey, we can just do this every month if you want. Well, now all he has to do when he's following up with people is, hey, we got a little script that'll get you a Google review. Can I send it to you? Right? So that's how I like to design those. Now, the flip side of that is, how do you do follow-up when somebody's like in the red zone and they're like 10, 20 yards from the hole or closer? To me, it's really 2 things. They both start with a P: plan and proof. So proof is if you got testimonials, if you got case studies, like if you talk to somebody and they expressed interest in buying your thing, maybe even at a sales conversation, then they ask for a proposal or whatever, or they ask for you to call them back on Tuesday, my follow-ups are going to be, let me show you what I did for someone else that's in a really similar situation to you. Or I'm going to go deeper on the plan. And by the way, even if you don't have proof, you can go deeper on the plan. So for example, like say I pitched somebody SEO and for whatever reason, like we didn't close or whatever, or I'm not sure where I stand on it. Well, how many different details in SEO could I go deeper on? I could go deeper on their keywords. I could go deeper on, here's what I'm going to do for your Google business place. I could go deeper on like, these are the changes I'm going to make on your website. I could go deeper on like, this is the kind of content I want to make for you. I could go deeper on like, this is how I want to track all our progress. Right, so each of those could be a follow-up in and of itself. Like, hey, I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about your Google business place, and I noticed like it doesn't have before and after pictures; it just has pictures, your van and your team. I want to do like more before and after pictures. That's a follow-up, and that's an effective follow-up, I might add. What most people do in follow-up, by the way, which is bad, I say bad in the sense that it doesn't work, is they go just circling back, just want to see if you read my proposal, and just checking in. And by the way, that ends up going nowhere. So if you go deeper and show them more about how you're going to help them, like they tend to like buy your shit more frequently, a lot more frequently, I might add. So then the other question was, and I know I'm answering these out of order, but it says, what are some of the best no risk guarantees? Again, these depend on where you are in the football field. Okay, so I think, by the way, there was a thing where a lot of people in our industry took the I won't name the person's name, but I guarantee you I'll get you leads or pay you $1,000, is people took the guarantee to be the most important part of the offer. But Alex Hormozi, if you reread $100 million offers, he actually talks about ease and speed of the result. So for example, I'll tell you something that we're doing inside of the Wolfpack. And I'm going to give a big shout out to Lana for her awesome work. One of the things Lana is doing is she was doing for like yoga studios and dance studios and gyms and like kind of like places that have classes and things like that. And what she found is they really suck at selling. Like many of you guys have found out with your clients, they can't close to save their fucking lives. And so what did she start doing? Well, she figured out that why don't I just sell the package right on a website and don't ask the client to have to do anything, right? Like, I'll just send them to the $99 a month thing. They'll buy it right on the fucking website, and then they'll get notifications about when their class is upcoming in terms of text messages and emails and, you know, stuff like that, reminders, if you will. And that person will just pay and show up. Novel concept. Well, now, when we say, hey, we can put people in your class, the real appeal of the offer is the speed and ease with which they do that. You don't have to talk to people. You don't have to message anyone. You don't have to do any sales. You don't have to do any follow-up. Just sign up for our fucking program and people will start showing up and paying you, right? So I think way too many people think of the guarantee as the offer instead of the speed and ease of the result that you're going to get somebody. And so what ends up happening is, to me, the guarantee is like the frosting. That's like, but you need a cupcake before you can frost that motherfucker. You need like a delicious cake base, and then you put the frosting on it. You can't take like a piece of shit and then slap some frosting on it. And I'm not saying your service is a piece of shit, by the way, for those of you guys out there, but a lot of how it's what's presented and packaged in the agency space to most clients is not all that appealing to them. Mostly, like, for example, if I look at Lana's old offer, which is, hey, we'll get you people to come in for a free class, or we'll get them to call you for a free class. And she found out, like, yoga studio owners can't even sell a free class. Like, they don't answer the phone for a free class. When people do, they can't answer questions. Somebody will go, hey, where's your location? They'll go, oh, I'm on the road right now. I don't know my address. Can I call you back later? They don't call the person back later. They couldn't even sell fucking free classes, right? So I want you guys to get away from thinking offers equal guarantee. A guarantee is a small piece. By the way, our best offers have no guarantees on them. Just so you guys know, we've like sold a lot of shit without guarantees. You know, it's not the guarantee that makes it sexy. It's the specific thing that's going to get done and the ease and speed of that result. So think more about that piece, right? Like in Lana's case, she could go, I'll get you leads in your yoga studio, guaranteed, motherfucker, or $1,000, I'll pay you. Or she can go, hey, we'll just sign them up for you. They'll prepay, they'll show up in your class, they'll join, become regular students, and we can send you 15 to 30 of those every month. How's that sound, right? Like, doesn't need a guarantee. So I want you guys to get off of this idea of like guarantee and more think about, and I'm writing this in, just so you guys know, in detail in version 3.0 of my book. And by the way, I see that you guys are leaving comments. Like, there's a counter of comments going up, but like Facebook is not refreshing those. So I see that they're there, but I don't see what you guys are actually saying. But it's like, there's a tier down here called leads and opportunities, and there's a tier all the way up here called sales. And you want to be closer to the sale. Sometimes for some of you guys who have like custom pricing and stuff, you may just want to book clients in the calendar because, you know, you don't control their pricing and what they sell. Like if somebody's doing a custom kitchen, you don't know what the price of that kitchen is. You can't, ergo, you can't sell it on a website. But you can get them a face-to-face booking. That's as close to a sale as you can get them. That's going to be more valuable than I'll just get you leads and opportunities and you got to call them, you got to follow up. And so think more about speed and ease of result and less about how can I make it some over the top or I'll pay you guaranteed. And by the way, almost always the detail is in the specifics. It's like most of you guys, when I look at your offers, they're just not specific enough. So I saw, you know, somebody said, if you're a business, I'll get you more leads, quality leads, right? Be more specific. What makes a quality lead, right? What? So we're doing this right now just for somebody in the Fast Start program. They got a dental program. One of the things we're working on is making it so, we got more specific. Implant leads. Those are more valuable, right? And then we found out most dentists, they have a problem that somebody sits in their chair and they have to give them this big spiel about how much implants cost. And about like, for every 10 people they do it, 8 of them go, holy shit, that's way more money than I was planning on paying. So now we're presenting the price before the booking. And so now they might only get 3 out of, instead of having 10 bookings, they're only going to have 2 or 3, but those 2 or 3 are going to know the price. That's a specific detail. We can bring you dental implant bookings who know the price in advance and know how they're going to pay for it, right? That's specifics. It doesn't need or I'll pay you $1,000 guaranteed, motherfucker. So I'm ranting a little bit, but I feel like most people missed what Alex Hormozi was saying in $100 million offers. And they got really hung up in the guarantee part of it and not in the speed and ease of which I'm going to bring you a result. Anyways, enough rambling. Nitin says, what are the different ways agencies are getting clients from? I've seen a huge drop in organic traffic, even for sites like Investopedia, although much of their work is done by GPT. But what are your thoughts on the effectiveness of SEO to attract traffic? Or should we optimize content for AOI? Please suggest what's working for your respective agencies. I think building authority is more important, whether it's through case studies or white papers. So firstly, I'll tell you, my dude, I spent 10 years doing SEO, and they say when you are a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So if you're doing SEO for other people, you're going to first think about getting clients as SEO. Let's get more traffic. Let's get more leads, blah, blah, blah. And I'm here to tell you that is a tool in the tool chest, but a lot of people don't really understand the finer details. And I was just harping on this in our Fast Start program. It's really solid execution of the fundamentals. Fundamental number one. Are you getting in front of people who have a proven history of buying marketing services? Break that detail. You ain't going to sell shit. I don't care whether you do it through SEO, content, paid ads, one-to-one, whatever. So are you talking to the right people? And by the way, 80-20. Doesn't matter what niche you're in, 20% of people buy 80% of the marketing services. Are you talking to the 1 in 5 that do all the buying? Are you talking to the 80% who invest very little, right? That makes a great deal of difference. Your offer. Is it easy to say yes to or hard to? Somebody asked me, what's the most hidden thing in sales? And I said, your offer, because you can do the sales dance perfectly. You can say the right things. You can be talking to a right prospect. You can do everything else correctly. You can answer questions, handle objections. But if your offer is hard to say yes to, you're going to have a difficult time making sales, right? So offer before all the sales tactics, all the scripts, all the follow-up, all the website, all the content, all the traffic optimization. You don't have an offer people are going to buy, you don't have shit. Not in my mind, anyway. And then, of course, you need a way to get in front of them. And I recently did a video on it, and I shared this with you guys. I believe there are, in 20 years of doing this, I've seen 6 ways that work to get clients. 7, I'll mention, but I'm not a big fan of the 7th one because I think it just brings cheap, shitty clients, but I will mention it. Number 1, okay? You do some kind of one-to-one. This is what's mostly taught in our space. You cold DM a motherfucker. You cold outreach. You cold call. You message people one-to-one. Okay, that's what's mostly taught. I think it's the least efficient way possible, but most people can wrap their head around it, and it's free. Okay. Second way, you run some paid ads. You go to the traffic store. You go to YouTube. You go to Facebook. Usually those are the 2 biggest ones. Facebook, YouTube, Google, some combination of those. You put your credit card in, you run some fucking ads, and you bring people to you. Personally, I love paid ads, but I think they're a better tool of scale than they are as a tool for most of you guys who are in the beginning stages trying to get your first clients. Having said that, they're an amazing tool when you know how to use them. Third, content. You publish shit, people read it or watch it, and they find you. And if you do that long enough, by the way, the biggest reason most people don't do content takes time, right? Like, we want instant gratification. I published 3 videos. I'm not a millionaire. In reality, like the first 90 days of making content, fucking nothing happens. Dick fuck all, right? But if you do it for like 3 to 6 months, you start to get a little trickle. If you do it for 6 months, you start to get some inbound leads. It's still not worth it, but enough so. You do it for 9, 12 months, all of a sudden you start having inbound leads. You do it for a year or longer, it becomes the most obvious, predictable traffic revenue stream you've ever created. People reach out to you daily. You never have to hunt for leads ever again. But most people don't have 12-month commitments. So don't do content if you don't have a 12-month commitment. But by the way, in every industry, all the top producers are content creators. That's not a coincidence, just so you know. Number 4, networking. You go face-to-face and you meet motherfuckers. You shake their hand. You go to the conference. You go to the live event. You go to the BNI meeting. You go to the local meetup. You talk to motherfuckers who have businesses. You shake their hands. You talk to them about their problems. And at the end of it, if you can help them, you sell them some shit. Okay? Networking. Probably not the most scalable thing, but it works. In fact, some of the top agencies I know, that's their whole business model. They just go from conference to conference to conference networking with people. Okay, so there's the 4th one. All right. 5th one, this is the one I always begin with, audience owners. You connect with people who have audiences in your space, especially if they're buying audiences. You create valuable tools and resources for their people, which is not very hard to do. You can do it in 5 or 10 minutes, especially with AI these days. You can do it in even less. And you share stuff with their audience. And then people in their audience discover you and come back to you. It is kind of like content, but it's content with a different twist. Is you're publishing content in their audience as opposed to your own. And so it has a more immediate effect. Because, like, for example, for us, when we publish stuff in the restoration space, well, I got a front cover magazine that got more than 30,000 people to view it. We got a YouTube video that had like 10,000 views in the first 24 hours. I got invited to speak on stage. There's a whole audience of people. You're going to sell more shit if you begin with an audience. So I like to focus on audience owners. Sixth way, referral partners. People who like you, like, know, and trust. And by the way, the best people who make referral partners are the audience owners because they already know everybody in your industry. So, like, for example, I made some posts to help the Industry Association of Restoration sell their event. Then they said, what can we do for you? I said, well, I'm trying to sell some websites and shit. Do you know anybody who's looking for one? Of course, this guy already knows 30,000 contractors. So he sent me a guy in 5 minutes, right? Amazing. What can be done, right? So those are the 6 ways. The 7th one I mentioned is Upwork, where you go on job platforms and you bid. The problem is usually people there, you don't go to Upwork because you're looking for top talent. You look because you're looking for a one-off project built cheap. At least that's how I've used it historically. Maybe there are other people on there, but for the most part, Upwork works. But man, shitty sword. So you asked how you're going to get business. You're going to do one of those 6 things. You're going to one-to-one motherfuckers. You're going to run some ads. You are going to publish content. You're going to do some old face-to-face networking. You're going to publish shit in other people's audiences, or you're going to get referral partners. So the only question I have is which one of those works with your style? That's it, right? That's it. Do the one that best works with your style, but you're going to do one of those. And I like to use those strategically. Jay Abraham says a strategic entrepreneur, somebody who's playing chess, not checkers. Difference between checkers, by the way, and chess. Checkers, like you move one move, left, right. Simple game, right? I can teach my kids to play checkers in like 5 minutes. Chess, on the other hand, is complex, nuanced. There's people who play chess for like 30 fucking years, right? And the top chess masters, what separates a chess pro from a checkers pro is chess masters can think 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. Some of the real grandmasters think like 20 moves in advance. I'll tell you, you'll crush most entrepreneurs in business if you can think 2, 3 moves in advance. So for us, what we like to do is publish stuff in the audiences. Then when they distribute our stuff, then we create referral relationships with those people. And then we eventually do stuff for their entire audience. And we use the materials we create for their audience as our paid ads. So as Ricky from Trailer Park Boys would say, that's getting 4 birds stoned at once. Not too shabby. So that's my preferred way. I'm not saying it's the way. That's just what's worked for us. You may have different things, but you're going to do one of those 6 things. So you get to decide which one of those is for you. All right, Andrew, this was a quality rant. My dude, quality rant. And I had some thoughts on it that I wanted to share, okay? He said, you'd never quit your job after 99 rejections. So why do you give up? Or you never quit job hunting after 99 rejections. So why give up on your business? I had an insight today I wanted to share with y'all. When people apply for a regular job, what are they actually doing? They're trying to get a paying client. And yet they will get ghosted or rejected from 99 job applications and never even consider that they should give up and be homeless. They know deep down that they have to keep going. And yet, when new business owners get rejected from 99 prospects, they start to entertain thoughts like maybe I should give up and get a job. Well, what exactly is the difference? Because at the end of the day, both job seekers and entrepreneurs are trying to get paying clients. It's really not so different when you think about it like that. My man. Great insight, I would add. And by the way, I just want to mention for those of you guys who've been on, Facebook does this weird thing where I try and refresh the comments and it just doesn't work. So I don't know. I lost the comments like 20 minutes ago. So I can see that there are new comments. I just can't see what they are. So anyways, what I wanted to say on this, I don't think enough people realize this. You can, in fact, fail at your plan B. And this gives you full permission to let go and just fully go into your agency business model and fucking do it and do it for real. For realsy. Okay? So let me explain what I mean by that. So in a former life, I was a supervisor at the Ford Motor Company. It was the best job I ever had in my life. I remember I was 21 years old or so, around that age, and I was in university, college for you American folks. And I was when I was doing it, I remember I got in the as a co-op job, so it's like kind of like an internship where I would sit in the front desk and I'd do spreadsheets all day. And I found out when I was so it was a 4 month placement, and I found out like you learn by doing kind of thing. And I remember I was there. I heard that they had an opportunity for a supervisor role, and it's kind of funny actually because the guy who was doing the hiring was my boss in the front office. So he also managed people on the factory floor as well as people in the front office. So I remember I went to him and I said, "Hey, I heard there's a supervisor opening." And he said, "Yeah." And I went like, "I'm your man." And I remember he looked at me and he said, "You?" And he laughed at me for 10 minutes straight. He went, without interruption, I might add, just laughed at me. And so the next day I came to him and I said, "Hey, if you're still looking for a supervisor, I'm your guy." And he laughed at me, but it was a little less. And I did this for like 30, 60 days in a row. And every day I said, "Hey, I'm your supervisor." And so anyway, eventually he didn't laugh at me the very last time. He said, "Okay, I'll give you your shot, but just so you know, I'm probably going to have to fire you after the weekend because chances are the guys are not going to take to you, and I'm going to have to just let you go. It's just like it's a performance-based thing, and you're probably going to get fired after the weekend." I said, "All right," and I was like pretty shocked, and I was nervous as hell, as you can imagine. And I had a team of like 100 people, so I'm like 21 years old. I don't know fucking anything, and I got a team of 21-year-old or a 20-year-old, and it was a high seniority department. So most of the guys in my department were like 55, 60 years old. And I actually walked into a perfect storm because there was one supervisor they all hated, and they were all trying to get him fired. And so they said, "I don't care who the next guy is. We're going to make the next guy look good so that hopefully they fire this guy and consider him dead weight. It doesn't matter who they are." So I ended up having excellent performance, but not because I knew what I was doing. And so I share this with you guys because it was the perfect job. My mom was so happy because I had health benefits. I was in a big company, the Ford Motor Company. And I had a retirement plan. And I got to see guys in my department who were 55 and 60 years old. And all they would talk about is, "Hey, I'm not really living life because I spend all my days at this factory. But when I retire, you watch. I'm going to really start living. I'm going to really start living. I'm going to go travel. I'm going to go to that place and do what I wanted to do." And I watched two things happen in a span of 3 years that totally shocked me. Thing number one is 50% of the guys who worked for me at that factory died within 2 years of retiring. They talked year after year after year, "I'm going to finally live," and then they fucking dropped dead and ran out of runway. And I was like, I remember thinking like, they've been for 30 years waiting for retirement. They finally retired and they're not healthy enough to do anything about it. And I'm sure like breathing in toxic factory air, there were like chemicals you breathed in every day. They ate like shit. They never exercised. Like I'm sure all of that contributed and whatnot. But it was still very sad that all these people died before they got to really live. The second thing happened is that around then is this is what got started in my agency journey, but the financial crisis began a little bit earlier in my area, and they started laying people off. And I remember they fired everyone with 22 years seniority and less, and those jobs never came back, by the way. So I watched all these people who were fully invested in their plan B and then fucking gave up. Or were like thrown out on the street, and like for a lot of them the life was over. They were building towards this retirement and it never came. And it became abundantly fucking clear to me when this happened, when those two things happened. You can fail at your plan B. You can get the safe, stable job at the big company. You're going to work your way up the corporate ladder and still be thrown out on the fucking street, still be laid off, still lose all your shit, still be homeless. So I think when you understand that even the plan B is uncertain, you embrace this in your agency, you embrace this in your own business, and you just fucking do it. So I think one of the biggest things you can give yourself is permission to go all in on your plan A and fucking let go of plan B, because plan B still doesn't work out. If I had stayed with the Ford Motor Company, they would have fired my ass and I would have been homeless and laid off at some point anyway, even with a big company and health benefits and all that kind of shit. And I would have spent every day miserable living in a factory. I remember actually I would come home and people go, "You have such an amazing job. You know, you make $100,000 a year. You're 21 years old. You got, you're in a leadership role. It's a big company. You got health benefits, blah, blah, blah." And I looked at it like I breathed in toxic chemicals. I was surrounded by angry, sweaty, fat guys. I was miserable. The time went by so slow. And the emotional environment was like, it was just a very toxic place. Not all Ford plants are like that, but mine was. Everybody was just arguing and bickering all fucking day long. Just drama and pointless, like, bullshit. And so I'm ranting here a little bit on Andrew's insight, but I really want you guys, because I'll tell you, for the first 3 to 5 years in my agency, even though things were going well, I really had one like white label partner that was like 95% of my business. And so I was very aware I could lose it all at any given moment. And so I still very much mentally hung on to the idea that maybe I could go back to a job. Maybe I could still, and I was still hanging on mentally to my plan B. And I would tell you guys, if you know you're meant for this, fuck that shit. Go all in on your plan A now. And for most of you guys to replace a job, for those of you guys who are out there who have jobs, and I know many of you guys are like listening to me are like way past that. We got motherfuckers doing 10 million. So I know you're past the job, but like we're talking 3 to 5 clients. We ain't talking like you got a mountain of mountains. This is not like climbing Mount Everest. You got to get 3 to 5 motherfuckers to say yes to your shit. Like, that is doable. And it is doable for you, not just for like anybody. So I'm ranting a little bit about this because I feel like, man, like if I had just gone all in faster and stopped hanging on to my plan B, I would have shortened my journey like 5 or 10 years. But I was still playing with uncertainty, like maybe this isn't going to work out. Here's the reality. You fucking make it work out. Why does it work out? Because you choose it. I remember there's a scene at the end of the third Matrix movie, and the first one was an especially awesome movie, but the second and the third one, they're all right. But I remember in the third movie, he's fighting Agent Smith for the battle to end all battles. The AI has now cloned itself into infinity. There's no stopping it. And Agent Smith is kicking Neo's ass. And he's like, he knocks him down, and then Neo gets back up. And he's like, "Why, Mr. Anderson? Why do you get up?" And he's like, "Because I choose to." And that is the game. Choose your success. Make it fucking happen. Don't be like hoping for some fortuitous bounce. Go create your own bounce. As Andrew said, if you message 99 people and it doesn't fucking work, go message another 99, right? Go post another 99 pieces of content. Run ads. Try shit. Do shit. And you'll be amazed. And almost all of it, by the way, like nobody really talks about this because in the agency space especially, I feel like everybody presents success. And just so you guys know, like every person who's successful, like I saw Sam Carlson like fucking message earlier. I don't know if he's still watching. Again, I can't see the comments right now. They're not refreshing for me. But Sam's a successful dude, living life on his own terms. I guarantee you, if you look into Sam's list of failures and list of successes, easily it's 10-to-1 failures to successes. The beautiful thing about entrepreneurship is you can become a millionaire from one success. You can fail 10 times and, be set for life over one success. So I don't think enough people talk about, like, you fail a lot and you persevere. Like, that's just the fucking game. Like, I know it, like, you guys know me as the video close guy and stuff. And like we do really well with the shit, but I've heard no to sales like thousands of times more than I heard yes, just so you guys know. And like, internet business and those kind of things. So I'm only ranting on this just because like perseverance is part of the game. And I feel like too many people go into it. So I get messages like this. This is where this comes up, just so you guys know. I sent 50 messages, I'm not rich. I spent $50 on ads, I'm not rich. I posted 3 pieces of content, nothing happened. Welcome to the fucking game. Keep playing. You're like 30 seconds, like you ran 3 plays in the football game and you're going, I haven't won the game 60-0. Yeah, of course not. Keep playing. And I feel like the biggest place most people have fake expectations. 50% of the game in an agency or service business like we're in is you and what you want. And 50% is the client and what they want. And almost always the you part of it is ready to move now. Like if somebody's ready to pay you 100 grand today, you're ready to accept it. But this person over here, there is a process that they have to go through to arrive at you as the decision, as the person they want to work with. They have to grow into your client relationship. There's communication that happens over time. There's a team, there's nurturing, there's often gifts and things like that. And most people undersell because you're ready to move immediately. They undersell how fast or how slow this person over here moves. And just so you guys know, the average agency service takes 45 days to sell. Does that mean like if you message somebody, nobody's going to buy it right away? No. If you post an ad, somebody may buy it right away. But often, if you guys do this game long enough, I can't tell you the number of times where I have a conversation with a client, they don't buy my shit. I know, a crazy thought, right? I hear no. And then 2 years later, they go, oh, I got a big check from the insurance company that I've been waiting on for 2 years. I'm ready to do that thing we talked about 2 years. And if you, in your mind, get out of the game after 3 attempts, you do not get the benefit of that lead you created 2 years ago. But I'll tell you, if you play the game long enough, it happens all the fucking time. All the time. And so the best thing you can do is just make the commitment, show up every fucking day, and just do what you can. And obviously have family time and do what you do and be efficient with your time and be leveraged in how you do it. But at the end of the day, show up. Again, get kicked in the face and get used to picking yourself back up. Most of the game, by the way, is picking yourself back up, not winning, just so you know. I actually watched a video before the Super Bowl yesterday with Tom Brady, and they were showing his worst ever hits. So the biggest times, some 300-pound guy came running, just clobbered Tom Brady into the dirt. And he said, most of football is that. It's not touchdowns and woo, we won the Super Bowl. Most of football is you get your ass knocked down. And he said, as long as something wasn't broken and I could stand up, I forced myself to stand up. And I wanted him to know that nobody could knock me down and keep me down. He said, the only time I ever stayed down, so he said I broke my ACL and it was very clear I could not get up. And I needed the cart to wheel me off. But he said every other time, he'd be I'd be winded and well, entrepreneurship is like that. It's, there are touchdowns and there are Super Bowls, but more of the game is getting run over by a 300-pound fat guy face planting you in the dirt and getting back up and going, I'm going to snap another play. And by the way, the biggest thing that stops people from winning the game is they get so gun shy about those little failures in the game that they don't get back up, and it takes them another year to run another play. Instead of, Tom Brady's all winded, his bones are a little out of place, and he's running the next play, and he's going to try and score again, right? It's that relentless pursuit. And by the way, this is why I'm so big on video closes, because I feel like video makes you more relentless. Because video, you never takes time off, ever, right? I needed digital systems to personally be more relentless because I'm not that relentless by nature. I'm I'm a dude who is tired and has too many kids most days. So if I can make video me do the heavy lifting, I can be far more relentless in the pursuit of what I want without having to be the one pushing the buttons and doing shit. Anyways, that's all I got for you on that rant, Andrew. But I just wanted to go on there for a minute because I feel like so many of you guys, man, just you give up too fucking easy. And the reason you give up is you're sold the expectation that this is going to be faster because you're ready to move fast. But you forget other people don't move at your timeline. There's a process involved in that. George says, those of you who have created nurture sequence for your clients, what are you sending out? So again, this is a very situational kind of tool-based scenario. Where are they on the football field and what is their relationship? So one of the questions I ask myself before we do any nurture with stuff, do they know what the thing is? Right? So for example, let's say, I know a lot of you guys are in the bakery industry, but let's say I worked with a bakery. Well, if they got cinnamon rolls and muffins and loaves of bread and shit like that, and you're a customer of theirs and I'm nurturing you, you probably know what cinnamon rolls, loaves of bread, and stuff like that. So there's going to be no education. I can go straight to here's the thing we sell, and we got a special offer, and get your ass back in the door, right? And the nurture is probably not going to be all that sophisticated. Flip side of that is sometimes you sell things and people don't even know what they are, right? So, like, for example, we got Steve who is selling solar companies. He's helping them sell a maintenance package. Well, people have a rough idea what maintenance is, but like, what are you maintaining? Well, you're probably going to have to educate them. The batteries wear out. The solar panels typically last X number of years, right? Like, I don't know those ins and outs because I'm not in that industry, but you're going to have to educate people on what needs to know. So the first question I have with Nurture, do they need educated on what the thing is or not? So for me, like, for example, like, we do a lot of video closing, so I educate the fuck out of you guys on that because chances are, like, many of you guys never even thought it was possible to close on video. So it's not like something you're thinking in your head, hey, I want to close on video. By nature, you have to first hear about it, and then you wonder, how does it work? And there's a lot of details that have to kind of connect before you can actually, you yourself, close on video, right? So that's the first question I have. The other thing I think of as Nurture is, generally speaking, it's never a bad idea when you're following up with people to say thank you, and mean it, by the way. So I feel like Nurture gets a lot easier when you're doing thank you. Now, the other kind of Nurture, like, we're talking right now, I guess what I would call like close to the red zone, like close to the end zone kind of Nurture, where they almost bought the thing and they're kind of in the vicinity and how to follow up. But how do you nurture people who've never heard of you, who know nothing about you, and are 99 yards away? I learned this from Frank Kern, and he calls it results in advance. And he used a dating analogy. So back in the day, he helped a guy named Neil Strauss to sell $1 million worth of a dating course in the early sort of internet days, when not a lot of people made $1 million selling courses and stuff on the internet. And he said, he was describing the Nurture sequence, and he said most of the guys on their list had one of two goals: get laid or find a wife, right? So for the most part, like 95% of the guys fit in one of those two buckets. They're either trying to get laid or find a wife. Well, in order to get laid or get a wife, that is a process, and it does not happen in a single leap and bound. You don't typically just walk up to a girl on the street and know she's going to be your wife. I'm not saying that never happens, but by and large, most times that's not how it typically works in the real world. So the first thing he noticed is that most guys didn't know how to even have a conversation with a woman. So the first email in their Nurture sequence was like, here are some openers you can use to go talk to her. And then it created a new problem. The guy said, okay, I opened, but now I ran out of shit to talk to her about. So they had a whole email about like what kind of things are interesting to have a conversation with. Not just women, by the way. This is like probably would apply in non-dating scenarios as well. Like, what makes for an interesting conversation between two people. So they gave them the framework of like, here's a couple of things you can talk about. Then they said, well, most of those guys aren't going to know how to. Then how do I transition to like, go on a date with her and have some sexy time or whatever. And so the third Nurture sequence was about like, how do I close, if you will, like for the number, right? And so it showed them like, here's how you ask for her number. By the way, it's not that hard. You say, can I have your number? But anyway, it showed them how to do that. And then they said, okay, how do I text her and get a date? And so the fourth email was like, how to text her and have a date. And then the fifth email was like, here's how the framework of how to have a good date. And then when they got to the last email, it was like, and if you want to go way deeper on all of this, it's all inside our course. And we'll show you how to like find her, talk to her, ask her number, go on dates, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So whether you're trying to get laid or find a wife, like, it'll help you do that. And what he did is he described that almost any process that you're trying to do for yourself or for a client can be broken down into 3 to 5 steps. And the way you show clients you can help them in the form of Nurture is by actually helping them, by giving them a little piece of the solution of one of those steps. And so, like I mentioned earlier, my favorite example of that is the coffee date, first date, marriage. If a guy is trying to end in marriage, an offer where he's trying to sell a Go high level SaaS that generates reviews, then the first date is let me run a single campaign for you. And the coffee date is text this script, this 1-2 sentence script to one of your jobs that you did this week and watch. They'll leave you a review. And then that person sends the message to 3-4 people, gets 1 review. They say, that worked. What else can we do? And then you go, I got a campaign. I can get you 10-20 reviews. Okay, great. We got 10-20. Now what? Well, now you need that all the time. Why don't you get my software that gives you reviews all the time, round the clock, right? so that every time you do a job, it'll automatically follow up with people and get them into this review system, so you have the most and best Google reviews. Right? So you want to design your process, like, remember, thinking strategically so that you're always leading people to the next step, but doing it in a way where you're giving value. So the way you do nurture is you map out those steps and you figure out how to be valuable to people in those steps, and then it will automatically lead them into your thing. If you think about the dating course, if we give them, here's how to talk to her, here's how to have a conversation with her, here's how to close for the number, here's how to text her and get a date, here's kind of places to have a date. Even if people never use that shit, they still see, I see how that could work, and then they want to buy your course to get the rest of it, or they want to buy your agency service to get the rest of it. So this means, by the way, if you work for plumbers, just actually be useful and helpful to plumbers and figure out like what the steps are they need to get out of their problems and move towards you, and kind of give them pieces of the puzzle. This is why, by the way, whenever I've sold SEO, you just show them like, here's you, here's your biggest client, and here's the steps that need to happen in the middle to fill it. And if you want, I'll just fill those steps for you. But if you want, you can do those steps on your own. I just gave you the playbook. If you got somebody internally that wants to do it, like that, this is what they need to do, regardless of whether that's me or someone else, go do it. And then they go, most times they go, I don't want to do that. Can you just do that for me? But they've gotten value from the process. That is nurture in a nutshell, is the Frank Kern, break it down into 3 to 5 steps and give them little valuable pieces of the solution. You're not giving them 100% of the solution, by the way. You're not giving away the entire machine. You're giving them a piece of it, right? Here's a little script to get a review. That doesn't make it so that you're the #1 review company in all of existence, but it helps you a little bit towards your goal of being the top, plumber or whatever in your industry. So I hope that makes a lot of sense for you guys, because when you understand this, like, the game gets easier. And as I mentioned, there's a counter that shows me the YouTube comments, like, so I can see the frequency. Like, I see that there are 12 comments so far, but I can't read them. It doesn't refresh the stream, so I'll manually comment on these after. For those of you guys who missed the intro, hold on here. We got some Q&A coming.
Ladies and gentlemen,
We got a new jam. AI made this.
let's break it down. Golden Guns Flex.
Golden Guns Flex.
Weekly Q&A. Let's bring the flames.
All right, so here's my AI DJing. So I put together some resources for you, those of you guys who want some additional help. I got a work with me document here on Facebook, and there are different things, because I've realized many of you guys are at different levels. Some of you guys are doing 10 million a year, and obviously, like, what you'd be looking for at the $10 million level is different than those of you guys who are getting the first few clients. So I've categorized that and put links in there. So I would suggest you guys check that baby out. It has links to our Fast Start program, to our Wolf Bag, to our training resources, to our tools, to personal consulting, things like that, for those of you guys who want some additional support in this journey. And I've tried my best to make it super easy and affordable and just straightforward for you guys to say yes. So if that sounds like something you're interested, click here. Otherwise, that's all I got for you guys here. Happy Monday. Much love. May the force be with you. And I hope that, especially for those of you guys who like stuck with me right to the bitter end and listen to this, I appreciate you guys. I really do. Happy Monday. Peace out. Hey guys, if you like this video, you may also like my best-selling book here, Beyond the Agency Box. It is all about scaling a digital marketing agency while eliminating meetings and phone calls. We actually sell our stuff phoneless. We don't have any client meetings, and we also hire our team entirely without meeting phone calls, which allows us to, actually kind of live a life. I've laid out the entire blueprint in everything you need to know: getting clients, onboarding, setting expectations, scaling, building a team, you name it. It has been a bestseller on Amazon now for over 5 straight years, but now you can get it even cheaper than you can get it on Amazon. So I can't tell you the exact price because it may change when this video is released, but there should be a link to it below, either in the description of the video or as well as a pinned comment. So if you're interested in that, check out that video and you can get a copy for super cheap.